looks like it's going. So welcome everybody. Thank you so much. Hope you all had good holidays. Today is a special meeting of the Community Connectivity Grant Committee, Tuesday, January 11th, 4 o'clock, being recorded for WebEx. And the entire committee is here. Eric Olson, Frank Pappalardo, Bonnie Reamsnyder, Jim Lampos, myself, Mary Jo Nozel, and Tim is not with us as ex officio, and I see nobody from the public. Just wanted to update a few things under communication. I had a request to ask if we wanted to change our roles for the remainder of the project, being chair and secretary. Any discussion?
Seems to be working fine the way it is.
Thanks, Frank.
Let's hope it ain't broke. Let's not try to fix it.
Anybody else? Would anyone else like to be secretary or chair?
If it would be helpful to you, I can try to be secretary, depending on the difficulty for you in doing the minutes. I think you've been very gracious about doing it.
Thank you for volunteering, Bonnie. I'm fine doing it, but if anybody if you would like to do it, I'd certainly feel free to take it over, and I could back you up, whatever you'd like.
Well, I appreciate you doing it, and if you don't mind, I'd like it to continue, saying as we should be ending this group soon.
Yes.
But should that change, please ask for help. I'll be happy to help.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate that very much. Eric and Jim?
I like things the way they are.
Yeah, it sounds good to me. It's been working.
Okay.
I agree with what Frank said.
Okay, then all right. All right, I will just respond that we're going to keep the status quo because we anticipate being done soon. Thanks, everybody. Let's see, what else did I wanted to tell you? Oh, I'm still waiting on a response from the homeowner at Shore Road and Edgeley about the rocks. So I haven't gotten a comment back from him. I'm hoping to hear soon. I sent him another email over the weekend. I spoke with emailed with Joe Comerford of Nine Town Transit. I think I shared that with everybody. And he is going to order the shelter for the transit hub this month. And I am going to just give him a little reminder maybe later this month to make sure it got done. And in my conversation.
Is there any option?
Oh, I'm sorry.
Is there any option on style of that shelter, or is it just one size fits all?
Good question. He sent us a copy, I think it was in the fall before we went to zoning, of what it looks like, what they typically give, and I just assumed that's all we can get.
Well, maybe, ask the question.
Yeah, I know that Kurt designed the pad to kind of match the standard, but I will definitely see what our design options are.
Yeah.
Okay. I also, in that conversation, asked again if they had any ridership data that they could provide an update since the fall, and he said no, but again, that his sense at that time was that things were improving from the pandemic, and that he hopes that there'd be some latent built up need for the service. And I think you guys saw the email that he feels that the transit hub will be a safety improvement for the area too. And I did send that to Andy Russell, who had initially asked for some information on that. And then the last thing I had was actually two things. Kurt sent us all an update that he sent to the DOT project status quarterly update, and I hope you all got it.
Yep.
Is there anyone that needs it?
No,
Got it?
Just before the call, okay, great. Thank you, everybody. I checked with Amy in finance, and finance did pay the 3 invoices we approved at our last meeting in December. So as far as I know, I'm up to date on all the invoices.
great.
So that's what I had as far as that stuff. The project update is the main reason we're here to plan for the town meeting on January 24th. Time allowing, I'll just update people on the punch list, but I think I've been emailing you with what's been done. And we did not get any new invoices, so I think we're kind of ready to move into the meat of the meeting. How we'd like to plan for the town meeting for the budget request of up to 50,000 to complete the project. So Frank, I think you probably need to, since you'll be presenting for sure. like you have- What would you like to, how would you like to proceed?
I don't know. I guess, you know, I mean, I presented to the Board of Finance and the Board of Selectmen, and hopefully we could just do the same thing in a little bit, you know,
Mhm.
a little bit less detail, but at least have all the information there. I want to make sure that all the information that anybody could require or request is available, so that we can answer the questions and give everyone enough information so they can make an informed decision.
Mhm.
Which pretty much is that spreadsheet minus, you know, page 2 and 3, but basically page 1, which shows the summaries.
Right, right.
I think the key would be to emphasize that the increase of cost to the town is very little, that this really is a request just to be able to utilize the grant money. And that's what we're really approving at the town meeting is additional spending authority. You know, the money is there, but it's the authority to actually spend it. And that's what's important, is to use that terminology, that it's really what they're approving is the spending authority, because the money is already there.
Actually,
And I
think-
try to say it 2 or 3 times or 4 times so that they
Yeah,
get
well,
it.
I think we're gonna have to rehearse this a little bit, Bonnie. So I'm definitely gonna ask you to you know, be part of that conversation. But I think that if I go from memory, I think we're actually only asking for the spending authority of about $18,000 over and above what we've already spent.
Um,
I'm gonna pull up, if I can, that
yeah.
thing.
Now, I think we're going to town meeting for approval of an additional 50,000, right?
Up to
No,
50,000.
up to,
Up to-
not an additional,
up to-
up to 50,000.
Up to 50,000.
Right.
But the important part is to clarify that most of it is coming from the grant. So approval of this really gives us the authority to spend more grant money.
Basically, we've already spent $43,302.98. We've already spent that. We had authority to spend that. We are asking for the authority to spend $45,627. Basically, $4,000 difference.
I don't understand that.
So we've already spent the town is already presently bound to
Spent-
pay $43,000.
Oh, I'm sorry. I thought you said 23,000.
No, 43. The town is already committed to paying $43,000 to
Right.
receive $320,000 worth of grant money. So what
Right.
we're asking for is an additional $4,000 so that we could receive an additional $70,000 worth of grant money.
Right.
I
Is
think
it that much?
confusing. I think that's kind of confusing because we already have the grant money. I think what we're asking for is the up to $50,000 to pay for the ineligible costs so that we can spend all of the eligible construction funding on the project.
I think we definitely want to keep it simple because you don't want to confuse people.
Right.
But I think the key is of the money that we're asking for. Yes, the approval is up to $50,000, but here's what we anticipate spending.
Right.
How much of it is town funds and how much of it is from the grant money that is already there? So if the difference is $4,000, the key is to make that point. It's only an additional $4,000 coming from surplus or wherever it's coming from. That's the key to make. So, you know, maybe using the term spending authority will just confuse people, but essentially that's what it is. You know, when we had a grant for $1.6 million to do the dredging, we still had to go to a town meeting to approve spending the money that was supplied by somebody else. We had to
Right.
have a line item in the budget that you know, that's the process you have to go through. If that line item and that amount is not there, we can't spend beyond that. So we have the money, we just didn't have the authority to spend beyond the $400,000 up until this is approved. 400,000.
I think I'll look at this and massage it in a couple of different ways. And obviously before the meeting, I'll send out my thoughts to everybody and we can
Okay.
take a good look at it.
I think we should add those 3 additional invoices. in the
Oh, yeah.
Um, 2 of them were not grant eligible, 1 was. They were paid in December.
I think, did I cover those in December?
No, well, this budget was for invoices through November when we put this together, beginning
Are
of
they
December.
covered, are they covered under anticipated?
When I'm looking at this now, Frank, I think we put the anticipated ones were the ones that we said approved by the CCGC but hadn't been paid yet. I need to look
Right.
at this again, but I think those were in there, but I also think we need to see if we added enough in there for the additional, basically, 17,000, $1,780 of ineligible and $1,350 ineligible that we approved last month.
We should go over that and make sure that we're in sync and that everything is covered. And
Yeah,
yeah, I think that, you know, we got all the information. I just want to make sure we're presenting all the salient information so that there's questions can be resolved or answered properly and without any
right.
waffling.
And I think to both of your points, it's important for people to see if we don't get authority to finish the project with the additional, basically $5,000, we would be returning 20% of the grant to the state. If we get authority to spend, we will almost fully use the grant with very little cost to the town. Additional cost to the town. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it's a pretty logical argument, so I think we'll be all right, but you never know. You never know at a town meeting, where people are coming from, so.
Well, I'm hoping since if we all understand that, if we don't have any problem with it, that we can reach out and make sure that people attend the meeting. There'll be another appropriation for the Halls Road project on the meeting or at the meeting.
I think that would probably draw a lot more interest.
And I think there were some, from what I heard from Tim, I believe, or somebody, that there'll be a couple properties that are going to be, get the town's approval to sell, get off the books.
That's usually a fairly, that usually doesn't draw a lot of interest. Because I doubt that they're valuable properties. It's not like we're trying to sell town hall or anything.
No, I think they were little properties. I think it's the properties that you had expressed some interest in possibly managing, so.
Yeah, those little pieces that it's in our best interest to turn over
Mhm.
to neighbors and stuff like that. So that shouldn't. The Halls Road may, which means that you have to convince all the people there that, this should pass. Which is why you want to make sure that you're making the point, we're not asking for the town to fund an additional $50,000. We're asking the town to fund actually go into their coffers and take an additional approximate 5,000 or whatever it is. And I think you have to use the figure that we would spend if it were the full $50,000. So, if it's,
Well,
because we will have the authority to spend that, and that would come out of the town coffers. So whatever that difference is, I think you have to acknowledge it.
well, I think there might be a question, if it's only 5,000, why are we bringing this to town meeting? Why did the Board of Finance just approve it?
And
Well,
that's
because-
where you have to say you need the spending authority. And
You
that
need
gets
yeah.
a little confusing and a little dicey. It's hard for some people to understand that if they haven't been a part of that process in the past.
I think we can make it understandable. I mean, I'm confident that we can make it understandable.
Yeah, we really have to.
Yeah, I mean, I do think this chart, this graphic is really probably just the one slide, maybe another slide is probably all we need. A summary maybe slide of what we've done to date and what, in text form of what we've done to date and what remains.
A couple of images would be nice, pictures, maybe.
We got pictures. So, but yeah, I mean, just keep it simple, as one of you said, and I think maybe do that first and then throw up the number slides might make sense. So show them what we're really asking for.
So I have a question. I've never been to one of these before. So when this number gets presented, is it us as the committee presenting, or is it the Board of Finance that says we're asking the town for this appropriation, and that there's people that ask questions, then we answer them, or how does that usually work?
It depends on who's in charge and how they want to present it. It really is the first selectman that goes up there and starts the process. It's probably a good idea to have the committee there to be able to answer questions and do a presentation, because the committee, in this case, Frank has agreed to do it. understands it back and forth because he's lived through it. So it's, you know, it could be presented in any way. Usually it's not the Board of Finance that's doing a presentation. The Board of Finance just has to either approve or approve it going to a town meeting. They can approve expenditures under $20,000. But if it goes over 20, it has to go to town meeting. So their only role in this was to approve it going to the town meeting. So they wouldn't do the presentation at all. They're the ones that are going to be asking questions too, you know, or they had their chance, but so it's really, in this case, you know, the committee has been given the opportunity to present it. So we want to make sure that we're as clear as possible without confusing people. And unfortunately, some of the rules of town government can be confusing. And to Jim's point that he made last time or a few meetings ago, going to a town meeting and asking for an additional $50,000 is hard to do. People don't like to approve $50,000. And that's what they see when they see this request for approval. It's going to cost us another $50,000. And that's what we're all concerned about, making the case that no, it's not going to cost you another $50,000. It's only going to cost you 5,000 or 7,000 or whatever it is. At most 7,000. So we just need to clearly articulate that, because I think Jim is right. People could have that image and just say, nope, that's it, we're done, and turn it down, which we hope they won't.
Okay,
Does
thanks.
that answer your question?
Yeah, that does. I just wasn't sure how it's brought up and if we're, you know, we're required to do a presentation, or it's more of, you know, we assume people are going to ask questions, so we have to be prepared to answer those
Yeah.
questions.
Well,
I think
certain-
it's better if the committee has an opportunity to do the presentation, because if anyone can sell it, it's us.
Okay.
I also think we should have a handout. Does anyone else feel that would be helpful?
I think that's a great idea.
Yeah.
I mean, it's probably going to be less than 100 people, I would imagine, generally is.
And do you think that we should just have the numbers to hand out so they can refer to them?
Yeah,
Yeah, we could do a single sheet of paper, both sides. We could put the numbers on one side and a couple of graphics on the other.
Yeah, I wouldn't do more than a sheet.
I mean, we've definitely heard that feedback. Comparisons of recent town meetings versus some past town meetings, and people are used to getting a handout. And that was a criticism of some recent town meetings without some handouts for people to refer to.
Yeah.
It might be a good way to explain to people that we've already completed the sidewalk project, the sidewalk portion of it.
Yeah.
To the tune of 320,000 or whatever it is, and we've 43,000 in soft costs, and the transit hub isn't going to cost you 50,000. It's only going to, you know, the town's cost is only going to, for the transit hub, is going to be 5,000 or 7,000, whatever it is. So it'd be good to have that broken out so that people don't say $50,000 for a bus stop, forget it, you know.
Right.
You know, they'll just be like, no, it's really going to be 5,000 for a bus stop, and the rest is going to be spending state money that's already in hand. And I think that might be a little bit more palatable.
Mary Jo, a lot of times when we did town meetings, we did frequently asked questions.
Yeah.
Maybe that might be something to do. I don't know that we need 10 questions, but maybe 5, you know, and 2 important ones. One, how much is it going to cost the town? You know, so that we're repeating that as often as possible.
Yep.
What's the increase to the town funded portion.
Yep.
Another
like
one
that.
can be where will the money come from? And then you can separate it, this much from the grant and this much from the town. Same question, different ways, but we've always found that when you're trying to emphasize something,
That makes sense.
it's worth it.
Yeah. I
Put
think
right up
that-
front that we came in under budget, so this is extra that we're
Good point.
gonna be able to do with the grant money, you know.
Yes.
You know, I think people will like to hear that, because some people are gonna misinterpret it and say that we're going over budget. So to make it clear that we've come in under budget and now we're throwing in some extra goodies.
And
Agreed.
Jim, that's a good point. I think that, Frank, if you start out, saying that when we first got the grant, we weren't sure that we were going to complete the sidewalks on both Hartford Avenue and Route 156. And to our surprise, we found out we were able to do it for under $300,000, or whatever number it is. And because of that, because we were under budget, we had the opportunity to do more than we planned. And this is a great opportunity, not only to put a transit hub there, but to clean up that lot and make it look more, you know, of a community down there rather than an empty lot.
Improve a town
156.
asset, improve a town asset.
Improve a town asset, improve a town, you know, smaller community of the town. You know, make all of those points that,
Mhm.
you know, this is because it was under budget that we're able to do this. I really like that approach, Jim.
I think that response we gave to the Board of Finance has a lot of that language in it. And I'll pull that up.
Okay.
It talks about the other uses of the transit hub, that, you know, we'll be able to use it for other community activities, the safety aspect of the whole project. You know, I think that was like in October we put that together. It was right after we went to zoning. Yeah, I think that sounds like a really good plan.
Well, all this will be online anyhow, so we could review this meeting, just to refresh your memory when we're ready to put this thing to pen to paper.
Yes. But, you know, if you have the opportunity, if you're speaking to people that have been supportive of the project, please ask them to take the time to come to the meeting that night. Anything else you guys want to talk about on the appropriation request?
No, I'm good. I'm good with it.
So how are we putting this all together? Through emails back and forth?
I think so.
I'd feel comfortable if we at least scheduled another meeting just before the town meeting and if we don't need it, we don't have to have it, but that
Okay.
sounds reasonable.
And in the meantime, are we going to comment on anything passed around for handouts? I mean,
Yes.
Yeah,
how are we gonna come up with questions? And, you know, if we do a short part that is, you know, answering your questions or frequently asked questions, you know.
How about if I put a template out for people to throw up over and add whatever you want, and, you know. make it
That would
fun.
be really helpful. I think we should probably kind of
Okay.
communicate through email to, or put it on Google, you know, Google Docs or whatever, so that
Yeah.
we can, you know,
Yeah.
add comments and changes and stuff like that.
Yeah, I mean,
It's on-
if somebody
on-
wants to take, primary ownership, say, of the FAQs, if someone wants to take primary ownership of, the budget, on the number side, that's fine. But I'd like to make sure we have it done in enough time to get it, to who's ever going to be setting up the AV, for the meeting and get the handouts printed, so.
What do we have? Just under 2 weeks, or is it, when
It's
is the meeting?
24th.
It's the
Which one?
24th, and so. a
Oh,
week
that's
from
less than
today,
2 weeks.
Yeah,
Mhm.
maybe the 19th, no, 19th, I won't be around. 20th, we can have a final kind of meeting. That's the Thursday.
That's fine with me. I don't know about anyone else.
I kind of think that's cutting it a little close. To get stuff.
The 18th would be a week from today.
Well, I think that we should, I would agree with Mary Jo. I think having it done by the 18th is better than the 20th, because as she says, it's got to go, to town hall to go on the AV and to get the handouts printed.
Right. What
So
about,
you want to schedule something in for the 18th then?
do you want it, is 4 o'clock on the 18th work for folks?
Yeah,
Yeah,
All right.
Yeah.
Okay. And up and, before that, if we can I'll work on the template this week to get it out to you guys, to have input so we can maybe just finalize things on the 18th then.
I'll work on the finance stuff this weekend. Just putting a note to myself here.
Sounds good. Good. Anything else on this? I'll get Michelle to set up the WebEx then for us.
great, thank you.
Thank you, guys. All right, okay to move on then?
Yep.
Yep.
Okay, just wanted to update you guys on the punch list, which Kurt last sent to us December 3rd. The only changes I have are updates. The water valve, water meter valve boxes on Hartford Avenue were fixed. Did not get a report yet whether they assessed anything on Shore Road. That, other than that, that was item 2 on our punch list, and that I basically think that's completed. We had already completed the aprons, as you know, on Hartford Avenue, the vinyl fence on Hartford Avenue, the mailbox post on Hartford Avenue, the turf reinforcement material, seeding, loam and seed at 29 Hartford Avenue. I don't see that they did that. I had been told they were going to come out the last week in December. I don't see any change there. So I'm considering that not complete. That was the 5th item. We think we can't find the deposits on the vinyl fence at 31. So I think those either wore off or were taken off. So I'm considering those complete at number 6. Our item number 6 on our list. The decorative signpost on Hartford Avenue and Bocce is still outstanding. Change order number 2, which was the additional decorative signpost for Hartford Avenue at Shore, is still outstanding, as you know. So that'll be a spring completion. I don't have an update on the status of where that is yet. However, I will put these open items in an email to Dan and Kurt, because we need to get the warranties from this stuff too, and I haven't seen those. The pavement markings is complete, as you know. The existing sign post relocations, that would have been item number 10, is now complete. They did that in December. All the ramps, as you know, that needed to be reconstructed per request of the DOT were completed. They were approved by DOT, so those are done. Kurt had also inspected those at the beginning of December. Let's see. As you know, they did put in the bituminous concrete at Cross and Shore some time ago. I believe they did add some more loam and seed, so I'm considering that complete. In December, they did complete the patch and curb repair at Teddy's. I'm considering that complete. That was quite a deal. But it's complete.
So I was going to say, is he happy now or?
Well, I don't know. I've seen him a couple times. He hasn't said that he wasn't.
That's good. That's good.
Yeah. I mean, yes. Let's see. And then I think you guys probably have seen that the ramp is in across from the church. That's complete. That got done last week in December. What has not been done is the moving of the trees per plan. You know, like Frank said, they weren't straight. Yeah, they're off plan, the 5 middle ones. And I had been told, and it was in writing, that they would be there the last week in December. I was there when the contractor came to remove the vinyl fence, which they had not done the first round when they planted the trees, and had my map and showed them. Was informed, well, the nursery guys were supposed to come and do that. So they have not come, they have not moved the trees. I was unhappy with how they took down the fence. They leaned it against the other side of the vinyl fence, which is not in the ground very well. It, you know, it's a definitely, you know, do-it-yourself project. My daughter and I moved the pieces of the fence before the storm last week onto the ground so that the additional weight of the snow would take down the fence. And it turns out, I'm glad it did, because when we took the last pieces off that were leaning on the fence actually moved. I did lay it on the ground. I think it's on town property, but it's, I didn't want to go on their property. And the vinyl fence for the lishings is still, as you know, on order. So, change order number 4 included the vinyl fence, and you know that's all accounted for in Frank's numbers. So the only thing outstanding, that the other thing we might want to show is what change order number 5 is going to actually give us for the money. You know, the bituminous road, the concrete pad, you know, the bench, the bike repair station, that sort of ancillary things that will also finish the project and make it look nice. Any thoughts on that?
I think we're good.
Okay. I think you guys saw that Dan Lavero expects to be back in April. So I'm going to be sure and send him the updated punch list, and I'll copy you guys, of course, on what needs to be done. And
You
I'm,
mentioned the loam and seed at Cross and Shore, I don't think has been done, where they put the new curb in.
I saw them working on it. I saw them there with some dirt. I'll mention that again.
I went by just 2 days ago and it looked like there was still a pretty deep.
Okay.
Yeah, it looked like they had thrown a little bit here and there, but a lot on that corner it still looks the same to me. And I was like, oh, I guess maybe that's all they were going to do. But now that Frank says the same thing, it
Yeah.
sure doesn't look finished.
Okay. All right. Well, they got to come back. So we will put that on there. My concern with them not doing the trees are that's the one that, of all of these that really worries me, because, you know, the fall is the right time to plant those trees. They didn't plant them toward, per plan. They were supposed to move them. They did not. Now they're going to be coming, I guess, in the spring to do it. Not the best time to stress the trees. It's going to require a lot of watering and care. So I, you know, he owns those, but I am disappointed that they didn't come out and move them after repeated promises to do that. And I am worried about the health of those trees.
I think, don't they own the trees for a year?
They do.
And I think that we need to make sure that they're gonna own the trees for a year from April.
Yep.
I think that's what we need to make sure happens, and that someone, whoever we can get, we may want to, you know, next spring, have someone look at the trees and determine how they're doing before April comes. One, we need to secure their agreement that they're gonna be standing behind them once they move them. And two, we need to have someone take a look at them before that year is up.
Is there, Kurt would probably be the person to ask, is there retainage on this project? And if there is retainage on the project, is that
There is.
retainage for the year?
There is retainage.
For the year?
I don't know if it's for the year. You'd have to look at the
The contract.
requirements. We could, but we could ask for retainage, you know, for that. I would think. I don't know. That's a good question to ask.
Well, honestly, I think so too. And given the issues with them at the end of this project, I hope this is not going to be a hard negotiation. Otherwise,
Yeah.
we do have liquidated damages in our contract.
Yeah, it's gonna be tough to get liquidated damages if they've got all their money. You know what I mean?
Right? Well,
So-
that's true. That's very true.
So, and the liquidated damages, I think we'd have to be pretty clear on what they are. If I recall, liquidated damages had to do with construction over past the specific time frame, and we've already been past that.
Yeah.
So we'll have to look at the language of the contract a little bit more carefully.
Well, we certainly could not approve an invoice that they put in for the tree work since they didn't actually put them where they were supposed to.
Yep.
We could hold that back until they're, you know, moved and, you know,
Yeah.
whatnot.
Yeah, I think that's a good point too.
Yeah.
They haven't even put in for their payment, their second payment. So right now they're out, they've only got paid that initial payment in whenever that was, June, July.
Mm,
They haven't even gotten their second payment.
Wow.
Kurt has requested that they update that payment because it's now, that payment request, because it's, I don't know, it's like 90 days since they initially asked for it, and it did not go through the process. As you guys recall, it went right to town hall, and it has to go through BSC group for approval first. So they are behind in a lot of things.
Hmm.
But I think I would like to, I'm going to put out a note to him in the interim to remind him that we are aware he has not fulfilled his promises to us to move those trees as required by the change order.
right.
So we'll have a documentation that he's been duly notified. And if we do hold back tree payment, that's the reason why.
Good point.
Yeah, I mean, I was really disappointed because he seemed to be kind of reappeared, really made promises to get all this done by the end of the year.
I would venture a guess that they are probably struggling the same as every other small business in the state. Lack of staffing.
Yeah.
Supply chain problems and lack of staffing.
Well, I think you're probably right, Frank. But
I mean, that doesn't excuse the fact if you make representations that you don't
Yes.
fulfill them and then don't contact, that doesn't excuse that fact, but it just, I can understand where he's coming from. I could kind of project in his position because I'm in that position myself. So
yeah, no, I get that. Like you said, though, I mean, he kept saying, oh, we'll be there Tuesday. No, we'll be there Thursday. Then we'll be there Friday. And that was New Year's Eve. Well,
somehow or other, didn't expect him to be there New Year's Eve, but
I did. I really did.
you had the bottle of champagne ready to go. What?
I actually did. Yeah, I was really looking forward to it. I thought that would close out the year well. Okay. Next on our agenda is approved minutes of December 20th.
I'll move for approval.
Thank you, Bonnie. Give me a second.
I'll second it.
Thank you, Frank. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
I'm
And
gonna
if-
abstain, Mary Jo, since I wasn't at the meeting.
There.
I'll have to abstain too, Mary Jo.
Thank you. All right, motion passes with the majority. So our next meeting then is going to be the 18th. I'll set that up. And it'll be by WebEx. And then I need a motion to adjourn unless there's anything else.
Motion to
Motion.
adjourn.
Second.
Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Bonnie. Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Great. Bye, everybody. Thank you.
Aye.
Have a good
Talk
night.
to you next
Good
week.
night, everybody. See you next week.